get in the fields, man. It's pretty rough. YouTube, what's up? Back again for another daily fishing video here on Andrew Upshaw Fishing. Today, guys, we are going to break down the Red River. How the event went for me. I don't even remember what place I finished in. I know it was in the 50s somewhere. I think somebody commented on my YouTube channel and told me I finished 57th. Overall, not the event I wanted, but good points. Not that points really matter at this point, but like, we're just trying to be as positive as possible. If I'm being completely honest with you. Overall, like I said, not the event I was looking for. Day one, let me just tell you, day one started with a bang with this fish. Turn this graph off. There's one. Oh, it's a big one too. First cast. Gosh, I hope it's... So that was the first cast of the day. I mean, literal first cast. And, you know, I do believe in a couple jinx. I have a couple, like 2 or maybe 3 or 4 or 5 things that are like superstitions for me, and first cast honestly aren't one of those superstitions. Now, and the reason I say that is the final day at Cherokee, I actually caught a bass, a keeper, on my very first cast, and it really kind of spun me out a little bit that day because I was like, oh my gosh, am I not going to win now because I caught a bass on my first cast? But that's not really the case. Overall, I just started making some moves up through these pads. The problem was, if you watch me in these videos, you're going to keep seeing me look over to my right. And there was actually another competitor over there, and he was putting the smack down on him. So I had a really, like, not so good boat number on day one. I think it was like 81. And that particular angler beat me in the area, and he beat me to exactly where I wanted to go start. So case in point, I didn't really get to go over there and catch any fish, and I didn't want to run up on him because I'm just not that kind of guy, and you know, so I just kind of fished my side, and I was able to catch a couple. I caught a couple really nice ones right off the bat. I mean, I caught that very first one. It was about a 2 1/4 to 2.5 pounder. The next one I caught was another one about 2.5 pounds. It wasn't too bad of a start. I lost one really good one, and I set the hook too soon. You'll see that right here. So it makes me feel better that I'm not the only one. What was that on, swim jig?
No, that gun frog.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, God dang it. Oh, shit. I should have let him have it a little bit longer. I just got too amped up. I saw him coming from too far away.
Keep doing that in the tournament, Brandon. Oh, damn, you swirled at it.
Oh my gosh. How did he miss that? That's a good one. That's a really good one. You know, as the day kept progressing, it got increasingly tougher. And part of that is because more and more boats were funneling in the area. And at this point, I've got 2 fish, and I kept getting these big rolls on my frog. I was actually throwing a Strike King pad perch, a black pad perch. I mean, that's just what I was throwing. And I had this one big one roll up under my frog, and then this happened. Oh, really? Never got it. Pull it up.
eating. Just don't want it in their territory.
He must have just been sitting just right to get him to react to it, but didn't want to eat it at all.
That's a good one. Get him in here.
Oh, please, Lord. Let me get this thing in.
Come on, Lord. Oh my gosh, that's a nice one. That's a nice one. Good job.
Fucking flipped back in there and he ate it.
Yep. What you using?
Just a rage bug. I guess I should have been doing that the whole time. That's why it's really important to have a good backup bait whenever you're throwing a frog. You know, I was actually kind of disappointed in myself because I should have thrown a backup bait on a few other bites that I had on my frog, but I didn't have the right backup bait at my hands until I grabbed my flipping stick. Overall, though, that wasn't a bad decision. And then Matt Pangrack pulled in there, and he had a few bites on a moving frog, like a horny toad style frog. And so I decided, you know what, screw it. I'm going to tie me one on. And then I caught number 4. And I'm like, holy crap, here we go.
Oh, shit. He'll keep.
Yep.
Maybe.
No, he'll keep
close.
Oh, bloody and shit.
He's in bad shape.
Yeah, he's 13 and a half. You know, the horny toad actually made a really big difference because I did catch that one keeper on it. It was only like a 1-pounder. It wasn't even a big one. But it was a bass nonetheless. And that put me at 4 bass. And then Hallman pulled in the area, and I think he only had like 1 fish. I had another group of fish that was down the way, and I was like, Hallman, come on here and slide on in here. And, you know, if you keep making some passes, you might catch some. And I think he actually caught a couple bass after I left. So I made a run, and I made a decision to go to an area that was, in my opinion, just as good as any of the other things that I've been fishing. And I roll up in there, and the water is just destroyed. I mean, I don't know what happened. It was one of these weird deals. I don't know if it was turning over in this particular pond or what was happening. Because the problem is when you get in these areas, you're having to go so far back, and you're idling for so long, going through these big timber fields and these real shallow drains, kind of almost having to like push your way in there with your motor. And quite honestly, it took a lot more time than I was really mentally prepared for. I think as I left my primary area and went to the new place, I think it took me about 45 minutes to 50 minutes just to get to the new spot. And this was like at noon or 1 o'clock. So, I mean, it really kind of threw a curveball for me. And so I had to make a decision on what I was going to do. And so what I ended up doing was going back in there. And it took me another hour to get in. And I think I only got to fish for about 15 or 20 minutes before I had to leave again and go back to check in. So a really, really bad call on day 1. Definitely not what I should have done. And it cost me. There's no question about it. I shouldn't have left to begin with, but honestly, you know, Hallman's got a very legit chance to make the Elite Series. He had a good event at the Red River, and he had 1 bass. And honestly, I'd made 25 or 30 passes around this area already. And now, granted, I was still kind of getting random bites here and there, but it was really dying off, and I was kind of losing some confidence in it anyway. So I was like, well, you know, maybe he can get 1 or 2 bites out of here, and maybe they'll be keepers. You know, because the deal is 3 of the 4 fish I caught out of there were really good, and the 4th one I caught was like a 1-pounder. So, you know, overall I weighed in, I think it was like 8 pounds 6 ounces with 4, and 3 of them were, like I said, the right ones, and the 4th being a tiny one. But definitely not the day I wanted, but I was in contention. I was in 39th place after day 1. I was like, heck yeah, maybe big things can happen on day 2, and we're going to talk about that here in just a little while, and hopefully you'll stay tuned for that next video.